So the first time I heard that song, I was 18. I was graduating from high school, and my sister Chris will remember this. My sister Emma was graduating with her PhD, and she had a party for us at her house. And she and I, my sister Emma and I, were getting the house ready, and this song came on the radio. I was upstairs. You weren't there. By the way, you weren't there. I was upstairs, and my sister was downstairs, and the song came on the radio, and we just looked for one another. We just came out and like, what? And that song, it still means so much to me. It just covers, right, the multitude of life, all that life is. Poverty, taking care of an alcoholic father, shattered dreams, hoping for more, right? And this idea, what the bottom line about this song, the key about this song is its connection, right? The idea that I felt like I was connected to someone. I felt like I could be someone. It's such a beautiful message. And who saw it on the Grammys? Right? It was such a beautiful moment. And the reason that I asked, and you guys, we have the most amazing musicians here, right? Thank you, guys. I tell them what I want, and what? They do it masterfully, just masterfully. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Sorry for being demanding. But, sorry, forgive me. But when you saw it on the Grammys, it was Tracy Chapman singing it with Luke Combs. And it was so beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. And believe me, it goes into what I'm talking about today. And for me, that moment, it was about building the beloved community, right? And when you look at them and their identity, you know, she's black, she's queer, he's this white man. He comes from country music. She doesn't come from country music. And when you saw them singing together, it was complete love. It was just love. And the way he looked at her, and it was so sweet because connection again, his father played that song for him. And so that is why he plays in country music. He plays the song at all of his concerts, and then he recorded it on his Getting Old album. So the song had a new life, a resurgence for a whole new generation. And here we are playing it at church, right? And she got an award for it at the Country Music Awards, first black woman to receive an award. Isn't that beautiful? There's so many beautiful things. And a journalist in the Atlantic Monthly said something that is so appropriate, so beautiful, and said that that moment was just an absolutely balm for our sorely divided nation. In the Atlantic Monthly. Just watching those two together was a balm for a sorely divided nation. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I'm coming back to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and I've been just so blessed and grateful because these past couple of weeks I have immersed myself in his writings. Absolutely. So forgive me. I hope I don't sound like word salad today. But you know how when kids talk in the beginning, they don't make no sense. So hopefully that's not the case. So pray for me, because there's a lot of good about what I want to give you about what I've learned these past couple of weeks. And let's go ahead and just start. I always like to review with last week. Remember, we talked about his teaching was love at its best. That is what he's asking of us, love at its best. And for us, what he says is our God is able. And he talks about how one night he was getting so many threatening calls. Remember, he was leading the protest, the Montgomery bus protest against segregation, and he gets so many threatening calls. And then he goes to the kitchen table and says, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's too much for me. I can't do this. Let me walk away from this. When he does that, it so reminded me of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Remember that? Let this cup pass me. Let it pass me is basically the idea. He knows he's going to be crucified. He knows something's going to happen. And so Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, he puts his hand in his face and he just prays. And the still small voice comes and says, I will always be with you. And he says he had never experienced it in that from that moment he knew that God was always with him. And so what he says is our God is able, no matter what we are facing, that God is there as our strength. So that's a beautiful teaching. The second thing he says is to love at its best, we must forgive. Always, ceaselessly. It is the habit that we have in our lives. And our co-founder does this every night, 30 minutes a night. Just forgives. Every night. And then the third practice is we have to practice agape love. And notice you have to have forgiveness and love. They're intertwined. Jesus always said, love, forgiveness, love, forgiveness. Those are the two teachings, right? Love and forgiveness. And in agape love, it's not the romantic love. It's the love of wanting goodwill for everyone. It's the generative love. It's a creative love. It's an understanding love. It's a love that just creates always goodness. It's the harmonious love of God. So that's what I talked about last week. And what I asked y'all to do is to see in your life where you needed to love greater, better, stronger, harder. See in your life where you needed to forgive. So I assume y'all all did that, right? You all got A's. You all did it. Okay. Now you're ready for the next lesson. How does that feel? Yes, you're ready for the next lesson because I got everyone caught up. You know, that's always important to me to get y'all caught up. So the next lesson is nonviolence resistance. Y'all have heard that, right? That was his major teaching, was nonviolent resistance. And I want to talk about how he learned nonviolent resistance through Gandhi, through reading about Gandhi. Now keep in mind, he never met Gandhi. He was 19 when Gandhi was assassinated, so he never met him. But he was very inspired by him and his life's work. And then I want to talk about how he came to nonviolent resistance when he was getting his PhD in theology and philosophy at Boston University. Because he held a PhD at Boston University. This was after his theological, after he got ordained. And then I want to talk about what is our commitment. And I wrote some things down about how we can commit to the beloved community. So are you willing? Are you interested? Do you want to sign up? Yes. I love hearing that. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are awesome. So let's just take in an affirmation with it. And I wrote one here. And the affirmation is, I'm committed to creating the beloved community. Committed to creating the beloved community. I'm committed to creating a world that works for everyone. I'm committed to living my life from the harmonious principle of love. I'm committed to living my life through the harmonious principle of love. I love that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin with Gandhi. I'll give you the quick refresher for those of you who haven't seen the movie. Right? It was a great movie. It was a very long movie, so I'm going to cut it really short. So Gandhi, as you may know, he led India to independence because India was colonized. It was a colony of the British Empire. And the things that Reverend Martin Luther King says is that he did it without hate. He did it without a curse word. He did it without an army. Isn't that beautiful? He did it without all of those things. He brought the British Empire down through love. Absolute love. Because the thing is the British Empire was there for 90-some years, and the people were tremendously exploited by the British Empire. More than, I think, about 350,000 people lived on less than $50 a year, and that money was taxed. So it was greatly, greatly, greatly exploited. People lived on the streets. I mean, that was just the reality of it. And so Gandhi was inspired by Jesus. And so one of the things that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, actually, he gave a Palm Sunday sermon on Gandhi, because what he said about Gandhi is that Gandhi was the Christ spirit alive in the world. That's how he saw Gandhi. Because what Gandhi did is he took Jesus' teachings from the Sermon on the Mount and he lived those teachings. Some of the ideas of, and I know you recognize this, is blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Turn the cheek, resist evil with good. And so then what Gandhi said is that our first responsibility is never to adjust to evil. The idea is that when hate comes at us, when violence comes at us, we don't meet it with that. That's big, right? We don't meet it with hate. We don't meet it with violence. We meet it with love. Because think about it. When you meet hate with hate or violence with violence, what happens? It only gets bigger, right? It only gets bigger. So the thing that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said that is so powerful and so relevant for today is that we have a choice. We can have nonviolence or we can have non-existence. Nonviolence or non-existence. We're living in a moment where more than 32 nations are at war. That's a lot, right? And we don't hear about all of them, do we? We only hear about a couple, more than 32. And we don't have to point at other nations, do we? We have plenty of divisiveness, plenty of violence in our own country. We have gun violence on the streets. We have gun violence in our schools. And in our churches. Last Sunday at Lakewood. So this message is so relevant. It is so relevant. It is so relevant. Nonviolence or non-existence. Those are the choices. So let's talk about nonviolence. Let's talk about what we can do. What he says, what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King says, is that he says that Gandhi broke the backbone of the British Empire with love in his heart, understanding of goodwill and refusal to cooperate with an evil law. He refused to hate. He refused to use violence. And so King one day went to India. Of course, this was, like I said, he never met Gandhi, but he went to eat dinner with the Prime Minister of India. And at the table was Lady Mountbatten. If you've watched The Crown, you know who that is. Lord Mountbatten was the Viceroy of India at the time when India was colonized, was a colonial empire. So imagine to have his wife there, that's friendship. And that's what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King says, is that once we move past this nonviolent resistance, what we have is the beloved community. What we have is a new way of loving one another. What we have is this idea of what I want for myself, I want for you. I want peace, safety, love for myself. I want spiritual nourishment for myself. I want food for myself. And I want that for you as well. And that's what the beloved community is. That's exactly what it is. So he learned about it philosophically, like I said, when he went to work on the PhD. And what I love, the reason I want to talk about this is how in alignment it is with unity. Because what he learned when he was in school is that his instructors, his professors, had this deep faith in human possibility. What does that sound like? That sounds like unity, right? That sounds like us. Human possibility. And a personal God. Right? That's us, right? We believe in this personal God. We believe that we have sacred worth. We believe that divine isn't this being outside of us, but everywhere present, and we cooperate with it. And that's exactly what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King believed. God is able, and we cooperate with the divine. Those are our unity teachings, and I love the alignment. Truth always aligns, right? Truth just always aligns. And so what he says is that we aren't here to defeat one another. We're here to be friends with one another. We're here to cooperate with one another. We're here to offer one another love, goodwill. And he says, we have to be strong spiritually. That's the big one, right? We have to be strong spiritually. We have to be willing to be the love. We have to be willing to do the forgiveness. We have to be willing to reconcile. That's big work, right? How does that feel? I know. Y'all look scared. Take a breath. Didn't mean to scare anyone. No, not meaning to scare you. Just come my way. And me too. Take a breath, right? Just take a breath. We're willing. Right? We're willing. This is probably a good time to say, remember Shara's original song? Which one of the 20? Right? Which one of the 100? We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Right? So we may feel overwhelmed, but think about that. The little bits. We can do the little bit, right? The little step. The little step. So what I want to offer you guys is an idea for the beloved community, is commitments to the beloved community. And what I'm hoping is this is just the beginning of a dialogue. It's the beginning of a conversation. It's the beginning of this is what we're committing to. This is why we're here in spiritual community, right? Not to just say these words in these empty kind of ways, but to practice it, to truly, truly practice it. Something that Jan has always said to me from the beginning is we're going to change the world. Amen. And in the beginning I was like, what? The whole world? It's a big world out there. Have you looked? Have you noticed? Do you watch the news? And I can't tell you in this year and a half that I've been here. By the way, I'm just so blessed and so grateful. I've won the lottery. I've just won the lottery. I just get to love, right? And read, which I love to do, and write. But yes, we are going to change the world. We are changing the world. Because here's what we do, is we take this idea of the beloved community. That's right, just like Shara's going like that. And we take it everywhere. Here, in the grocery store, Terry Olson. Talk to Terry Olson about her grocery store stories. They are the best. Because it doesn't matter where she goes, she's spreading Terry Olson love. And the only unique way that she knows how to do it. And it's beautiful and it's big. And that's what we do, right? We go to our homes. We practice it with our partners who even sometimes drive us crazy. Sorry, Thomas. We practice it with our children. I'm going to say that again. We practice it with our children. We practice it with our neighbors. We practice it everywhere, right? Everywhere that we are, that's what we practice. So here are some commitments, and we can come together and we can add to them, and call me, come see me. I want to talk about this. We acknowledge that all life has sacred worth, and we honor and respect all life. Can y'all say yes to that?
Yes.
Okay. We acknowledge our shared desire to be peaceful, happy, and safe. What we want for ourselves, we want for everyone.
Yes.
Okay. We acknowledge that there will be conflict.
Yes.
Remember, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, and there will be conflict. Right? And there am I. and there will be conflict. And so what we know is that with conflict comes growth, right? Something greater and better that we ever even could imagine. And so we commit to resolving conflict peacefully, right? That means that we hold, each of us are always safe in our minds. That's big, right? Everyone is safe in my mind, including myself. That's huge. We work to end all violence by committing to being a peaceful and loving presence wherever we find ourselves. In everything we do, we are committed to unconditional love, kindness, and goodwill. How does that feel? Good. Nonviolence or non-existence. We have a choice, right? My beloveds, I love you so much, and thank you so much.